just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if it's sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 90. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz. New York Knicks 7-5. The Brooklyn Nets are 8-4. How are you doing, Alex?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Here.
I'm doing good.
Doing this in the day. We're like real podcasters.
Yes, we are doing it during the day. Yes. Do you feel like you're doing like a midday show on radio or something? Or I guess a morning show.
I like this so much better. Because usually it's like, 10, 11 o'clock at night when we're starting these after a game and we're all emotional and exhausted from the whole day. Right now, I'm like ready, got my coffee in. I didn't work out, which I usually do in the morning, but I'm good. I'm like very good to go. So.
Yeah, I like doing it better at night, but I'll just say that I can adjust. And it's Friday. If this was like Monday doing this, I would be a train wreck. I'd be like, oh, I got my emails out. What am I doing? And everything. But because it's a Friday, I know what I have to get done. I do feel a little more settled in that role. Mm. I do agree with you, though. Like personally, in the morning, I shoot out of bed, a cup of coffee, get work done, do all the things I need to do. I'm all for it. Unfortunately, the Knicks and Nets don't play games at 7 a.m. on Friday. Although Knicks fans would say, doesn't matter anyway. They don't have fans.
Yeah, no, I mean, nobody would be watching anyway, right? Nobody would be there or watching anyway. Be like going to a game at the park,
That was fun.
The Nets do like to play at parks. They like parks. So
they do. It was fun. All right, let's start and talk about the Nets and Knicks. Let's start with the Knicks because I think right now Nets are sort of hitting their groove, 8-4, getting wins. Kevin Durant is playing out of his mind. He's playing incredible basketball. But I think the Knicks are the more interesting topic right now. It's 7-5. They started the season 5-1. They have not played well lately. Yeah, Leon the Cat's going to join me for this episode. It is what it is. If you're watching on video, he's here with me, but he'll be fine. He doesn't talk.
I'm just laughing because he's just sitting there. It's so funny.
If he's going to hit the microphone, that will be a problem.
Yeah. So sorry. If you're watching on YouTube, Bad Weather Fans on YouTube, you'll see Leon the Cat was just in Mike's face. And that's why I started laughing and had to stop Mike. Go ahead, continue.
My son's getting a haircut right now. So Leon the Cat's like, he gets jealousy issues and he knows my son's gone. So he's like all over me because he knows he can take care of it. Stay at that opportunity. Doesn't matter.
Daddy.
Yes, exactly. Back to the Knicks. I find it interesting because I see the Knicks expectation coming into the season was excitement and everybody's talking about what they think realistically for this team. Got off to such a great hot start. Now they've started to accumulate a lot of bad losses to teams they should win. They had the great win in Milwaukee, but other than that, it's kind of been like, all right, the Sixer win, but they played against a team that was missing Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. I'm not even going to count Ben Simmons. He's not on the team, but they were missing a bunch of players. And it has this feel for me, Alex, watching on the outside, the Knicks, and I know you'll disagree with this, but the Knicks don't have the same energy they did last year, even with the better record, because their defense sucks and their point guard is a disaster right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, people who listen to this podcast, they know that I was heavy on bringing Reggie Bullock back over Alec Burks. I don't know why they chose Alec Burks. It's another shooter on the bench, and that's great. But Bullock, I believe, not just defensively, but in the locker room, he was a big part of that energy that was brought to this team and this locker room. But also, with that said, I'm not worried about it yet. I mean, Stat Muse put out the tweet that blew up the other day. It was like the Knicks have the 5th worst defensive rating this season. They have had the 3rd best defense last season. And they've allowed career high nights to Pat Connaughton, Ricky Rubio, OG Anunoby, and Jaylen Brown this year. And you know what? I quote tweeted people who follow me on Twitter at Knicks Central saw this already, but I said last season after 12 games, the Knicks were 5-7. This year they're 7-5. Everybody calm down. And plus Jaylen Brown having career high. I mean, it was in a double overtime game. So that's a little bit of a ridiculous stat. Ricky Rubio I was at the game on Sunday. Ricky Rubio just had a career night and there's nothing you could do defensively. I mean, some plays they fell asleep and they forgot about him. But at the same time, it's Ricky Rubio. You're like, eventually this guy's going to start missing, you know that you can give him a little bit of a break for. And we talk about this often too on the podcast. I'd rather have the team with the offense and then lose it on the defense, and the team with the heavy defense and then lose it on the offense, because we saw what happened in the playoffs. When things happen, you need a bucket more than you need it. Like, you need defensive stops. And I'm going in circles here, but we talked about this on the last episode too. If Kemba is giving you 15 points a game and nothing on defense, he can't start. But you need both the Kemba and Rose connection, because we saw what happened in the Cavs game. They're heavy at the point guard position. You don't have Kemba and Rose, you're going to get crushed. So that's what makes this team great, like really good, and like a contending team in the East, not a title contender, but like a top tier Eastern Conference team, is that you have two starting point guards. So when one is out, the other one's in. And then all of a sudden, you have Alec Burks, and quickly is not a pure point guard, and whatever. I'm rambling, but you get what I'm saying. I'm not worried yet.
The problem is you might not have two starting point guards. I mean, I would say I would be alarmed by the play of Kemba Walker. I told you before we got into this free agency thing, I said it was a nice signing, but I think when he goes 0 for 7, 1 for 7s, 2 for 8s, and he's giving you nothing on the defensive end.
Useless. Yeah.
I mean, Derrick Rose has been incredible. There's no doubt about it. Derrick Rose has been unbelievable. The guy's not going to be playing 30 plus minutes, but he has been as steady as it comes. I mean, if it wasn't for the trade where the Knicks acquired Derrick Rose, who knows where they would be for real. I mean, he has made a monster impact on this team from last season to what we saw. He probably had one of the better series for the Knicks versus the Hawks. And again, this year,
only player.
He's coming in. He's giving 20, 25 points, 5 assists. I mean, he's playing some really good basketball. I'm a big fan of Derrick Rose. By far, he's my favorite Knick on your roster. But the Kemba Walker thing would scare me. And you see what you get with Evan Fournier. There's days where he looks unstoppable, like the game in the double overtime win versus the Celtics where he couldn't miss. And then he disappears and he can't play defense on the perimeter. It's just not what he's there for. And I would be scared because, to your point, it's great when we can have this offensive juggernaut that can come in and score points, but offense goes. And if your defense isn't there, the Knicks are going to lose games that they didn't lose last year. And you're seeing that, like, the Knicks last year don't lose versus the Magic at home. I don't care if you're playing two teams twice in a row. Their defense is good enough where it wouldn't make a difference. And it would scare me as a Knicks fan where after every loss, you hear the same thing from them. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. And then it's not corrected. That's a problem. I mean, that is a problem. So I'm really curious to see how the Knicks do here with this little spurt of games, because there's a lot of them that are winnable and they should take advantage of that. But I'd be very curious how the Knicks respond there, because they do have to play better defense. Like, you look at the Nets. The Nets this year aren't as flashy. They can't score like they did, but they're shutting people down defensively. They're giving up 103 points per game, considering where they were last year when it was probably around 117. I mean, they have made huge strides on the defensive end. They've got some things that need to be talked about, but they play defense. And because of that, they're winning basketball games even when their offense isn't there. The Knicks need to play better defense or they're going nowhere fast.
Yeah, and starting the game also means starting the third quarter, and the third quarter of doom, especially the last 3 games, have been terrible. So we have the last 3 games. I actually wrote down it, like I was actually being a real podcaster, statistician here.
It's about time.
Wrote down the scores of the last third quarters. I can't easy for me to say. Last 3 third quarters. Play lucky number 3. So it was 33-18, 25-14, and then 31-24 against the Bucks. That's 89-56. They've been losing in third quarters of the last 3 games. That's a 33-point difference. That's huge. And that's partially on Kemba, because he's the starting point guard of the third quarter as well as the first quarter. So at some point you may have to, I'm not saying to bench Kemba. I'm not saying to get rid of Kemba. It's been 12 games. Let's get him in shape. Let's see what happens. Let's give him another month or so. But at some point you may need to flip them, Rose and Kemba, and have Rose start and have Kemba come off the bench, because then it's fine. And that's what's so great about this Kemba deal. Knicks fans got so excited because they got Kemba Walker for $8 million. And the upside is like, holy crap, we got Kemba Walker for nothing, essentially, in NBA salary cap speak, for nothing for 1 year. It's a trial. The sky's the limit. It wasn't like every Knicks fan was thinking we were getting the all-star Kemba Walker. We had the dream of maybe. But you know what? If he's giving us 18 to 20 points a game, then that's great. But right now he's not. But again, it's been 12 games. let's relax. Like, let's calm down and relax.
It has been early. That is for sure. But this is what happens when you have expectations. Last year, there were no expectations. This year, there are expectations. And to be fair, when you start 5-1, your brain starts going to places where it shouldn't. You know, it's we're 5-1. I had people texting me like I tweeting
60 wins. Yeah,
I had people tweeting me like I don't know if the Knicks could beat the Nets in a series, but I bet you I wouldn't be shocked if they could pull it off. And I'm like, it's been 6 games. I mean, who knows what this net roster even looks like at the end of the season? I've gotten into the mentality of trying to trade Kyrie now, but we'll save that for another time. I think it would just be best to deal him if he's not going to play and see if you can get any assets in return to help this team make their championship push. But you're 5-1, you're feeling giddy. So then when you're going 2 for the next 4, things switch fast and you're feeling a little bit different. It can change your mindset. And it's so easy to get too high and it's so easy to get too low. And I'm a prisoner of that for sure. And I fall in that trap all the time. And it's really, really difficult not to. The beautiful part about all those Knicks third quarters is the Nets' third quarter dominance during the 6 out of the last 7 has been unbelievable. They have destroyed teams in the third quarter, beating them by 15-20 in each of them, and they have put on a clinic against these squads. It has been the exact opposite. The one game they didn't do it was the Bulls game. That was the one loss in the 6 out of the last 7. That was the back-to-back after the win on the road versus Toronto. And you saw in that fourth quarter, they just fell apart and were flat. Nets have been the exact opposite, dominating third quarters and playing defense. It's a weird switch from last year where the Nets were the offensive team. They can still score. And the Knicks were this grinded out defensive squad. It feels to me, Alex, that the Knicks have lost some sort of their identity right now.
Yeah, I mean, and how much, I'm not going to put too much onus on Reggie Bullock. And also it's early in the season, like we said, but you get rid of Bullock, and I'm not going to say Elfrid Payton makes a big difference, but a defensive players, and you bring in the offensive players, this is what happens. But again, it's an offensive league. People always complain about defense in the NBA today, and you need defense. The Knicks have really, really, really great interior defense with Mitchell Robinson and Noel, and even Obi can block some shots. They have really, and Taj, they have really good, great interior defense. But on the perimeter, they're getting crushed. And that's what, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. I've heard, I think it was Stan Van Gundy said it last year, just stuck in my head in some random game I was watching. Like, oh, this guy can't play defense. This guy can't play defense. He's like, who can play defense in today's NBA? We always complain there's no defense in the NBA. And then we're going to complain that this guy doesn't play defense. So it's just calm down. Everybody just calm down. It's been 12 games. I know the other thing that Knicks fans are worried about is Obi Toppin getting minutes. And, I'd rather have the guy that's crushing it, the young guy that's crushing it behind the all-star and all-NBA player than have to be worrying about like Lance Thomas and Jason Smith or something. Let's just calm down, guys. I know we're excited. I know Knicks fans, I know we're excited, but you know what? This team is legit. They're really good. They're a mid to top level Eastern Conference team. It's been 12 games. You can't have this craziness up and down. It's not football. I know we're looking at every Knicks game as a football game, but it's not. So just calm down. We're going to win more games than we do. This wasn't a 60-win team anyway. They're right where they should be. Our boy Cooney's put it out for us with the math. Like you went after him for it. They're right on pace for around 48 wins or so. And it is what it is. And that's 47.6. You corrected him, of course. They're right on pace around 48 wins. That's what we thought they'd be. 45 to 40 to 48, 40 to 48, somewhere around there. So just chill out.
Yeah, but okay, if you're going to see, that is such a flawed argument with the 7 and 5 and multiplying it, because it's such a small sample size. Yeah. If they had one more loss, they're on pace for 41 wins in the 12 games and all of it, but one game switches, one comeback in either direction switches it over. So I get the idea of illuminating the point and showcasing. Let me take this, divide by 12 times 7, whatever the fuck he's doing. It's also such a little amount of games that you could change that so fast. Like the Nets now are on pace for 54.6666 wins because they're 8-4. If they kept up that amount of 8-4s 10 more times or whatever the hell it is. So I understand. It's like the
baseball player hits 2 home runs on opening day. And then they're like, look what he's on pace for.
Yeah. So I get that the Knicks are on pace for where you thought they were. But if you go into the detail and look at things that would be alarm bells for later, that's what you need to look at, not doing the math to make your point. And I get it, but I would say caution that. And trust me, I could see the Knicks coming out there and winning these next couple of games. But from on the whole picture, it's a Randall is an enigma in a lot of ways, where there's so much expectation on him now because of how great he was last year, and maybe he's just falling into what he is. He's a fringe he's an all-star player.
Still pretty damn good.
Right,
he's still pretty damn good right now.
Very good. But if you're, but I think there's expectations for him to now, because of last season, to come in there and be the all-NBA second team NBA forward that's going to lead you to games when you have other guys that have off nights. And the only time we really saw that is the last game versus the Sixers, where he had a really nice fourth quarter and led the team when other people were struggling. But outside of that, he hasn't been that kind of dominant player. And I think that irks Knicks fans.
Well, he's also averaging 22, 10, and 5. I mean, he's a little smidge below, and it's been a few games. And not that this means much, but he's the 13th ranked player in Yahoo Fantasy Basketball. So, like, he's still doing pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? He's a smidge lower, but he's still crushing it. You know what I mean? And like, so he had a couple bad game here and there. And like we said, the stats can skew really, really one way or the other early in the season. You know what I mean? And the Knicks are a few shots away from being 8-4, 9-3, you know, and they're even like a few shots away from being the other way. Mm-hmm. Like, so it's so early, like you said, so everybody just calm down. That's all.
Meanwhile,
but, meanwhile over in Brooklyn.
No, well, I was going to say Lamarcus Aldridge has been awesome. I mean, he has been so good.
Way better than I thought. Yeah.
He has been incredible. He is automatic from the mid-range. He's had 3 games of 20 plus points off the bench. I mean, Lamarcus Aldridge, he's not Lamarcus Aldridge, but he's not just there as one of these aging veterans like Paul Millsap. Like, Lamarcus Aldridge can still play, and he can give him quality minutes, and he has made a huge difference for this team. He was knocking down 3s in Orlando. He's taking the mid-range. He's going into post-ups. He's not the best rebounder in the world, but he's a bigger body that helps them on the glass. Lamarcus Aldridge, for me, has been the biggest surprise. And I think for all Net fans, so much excitement with how he's played. He has made a huge difference in that second unit, as well as DeAndre Bembry. He has been awesome as well. This guy shot 28% from 3 last year. He's shooting, I don't have the exact number, but he knocked down a bunch in Orlando. He is playing great defense. He gives them a perimeter presence, and he guards their other team's best players. He's everything the Nets lacked last season, and is such a great addition. The Nets second unit has been so good. It's wild to see how much just to see like a rotation and a roster and a team where you know where things are, and you know, Kyrie's gone, and it's just kind of become, this is who the Nets are. You know, Kevin Durant has played every single game. He played every single game in the Olympics. He played a bajillion minutes in the playoffs. He's going to miss games. They're going to give him off nights once we get to later in the season, because it would just be crazy not to. But from all indications are, this guy's not taking off games. He's playing 36 plus minutes. He's been everything for the Nets. And by most indications, he's the league's MVP right now.
Yeah, and he can't really take the days off like he would have if Kyrie was healthy,
right?
I'm sure, also, because when you have the 3-headed monster, you still have 2 major mega stars that you can beat, you know, the average teams, you know, so that kind of hurts him a little bit. And, you know, Lamarcus Aldridge, just go back to him, man, he has just been incredible. Maybe he really needed that half year last year to be like, step away from the game, get his body and mind right, and get back into it, because, you know, I said it before the season. I'm like, I'm not worried about Lamarcus Aldridge or Millsap, you know, these old guys, you know, but it really has been great. And, you know, a guy had firsthand, you know, because the game on Sunday, the Knicks Cavs game, the firsthand experience of like really close looking at it was Jared Allen. I'm like, oh my God, this guy looks way better in person than I thought, because you really see the footwork and the dunking and this. You're like, I'm like, whoa. But you know what? The Nets will be fine with Aldridge if he stays healthy, if Durant stays healthy, if Harden stays healthy. They're going to be fine. They'll be a top tier conference team. Do you think that they're going to be hurt with like some of their, you know, bench play besides Aldridge, or you think that they're going to be, you know, they're going to be okay come playoff time and they're going to shrink the bench again, you know, kind of?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I mean, Patty Mills is going to get minutes. Lamarcus Aldridge is there. The way Bembry plays defense, he has to get run. They're going to add somebody as well once they get towards the trade deadline. So I love the bench, and they'll shorten it just like anybody, but I think you're going to see more flexibility in the playoffs because they have veteran defensive minded guys. And I love the blue collar boys. Have you heard about this with the Nets?
No.
So the Nets, I love this because it's such a gimmick thing, like with the bing bong, but this one's actually like legit and fun. They have
no one's
the
heard of it because it's the Nets. Yeah, right.
No, people have heard of it. People have heard of it. You just haven't heard of it because you don't know the sport. And now I got to double check. Now I got to double check that it is the blue collar boys because every time in my head I have like weird. And
it's so important, but you don't even know what it is. That's what it is. It's
yeah. Hold on.
But nobody knows.
No, I know what it is. I just keep getting it mixed up in my head.
You just don't want to say it wrong. I know. You just I'm throwing you off and making you like double.
It is yes, it is blue collar boys. Why am I questioning myself? It's the group was started by Blake Griffin, and he leads the league in charges. And anytime they have effort plays, they pull up their boots and then they put on their hard hats, and the whole team and the whole bench does it. Yeah, I roll there, and
like Jared Jeffries flashbacks.
But what they do is they hold each other. They hold each
ahead.
other accountable, and you see all of them like making these effort plays. And that's what I love about it is, and you'll roll your eyes, but they've played 12 games this season. It's a team where everybody talked about the Nets. All that matters is the playoffs, which it does, but they are in the regular season, like fired up, and this team has grown continuity through it. And it's been awesome to see that because they like to take charges. They play defense. It's a great identity to have. Joe Harris is in the blue collar boys. Patty Mills is in there, and Blake Griffin's in there. Kevin Durant right now has his application in, but he has not been accepted yet.
Bunch of lunch pail guys, right? They put their boots on, they go to work.
I love it.
They love it. Highways over there, they do all that.
I love it.
I was getting. Yeah, go ahead. Go.
No, to your Jared Allen point, I love that you got to see him in person. He's 23 years old. He's been in the NBA since he was 12 years old. He's been growing and growing and growing. He is a beast. And I love that I'm in the middle of like a Knicks Nets Twitter beef about something stupid. And I like I do always, I end the argument and I have a Knicks fan agree with me. And they're like, oh, yeah, I see your point. That's good.
I get it.
Yeah, I get it. That's a great point. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, but I'll admit I take the L and I thought Mitchell Robinson would be better than Jared Allen. It's like, well, of course you did. But of course you did. You're a Knicks fan. You wouldn't think any other way. I posed the question: were you watching every Jared Allen game when the Nets were in the season with D'Angelo Russell and he was starting to develop and play well and had a good playoffs versus Joel Embiid and stood his own as a 21-year-old and started to get better and better? No,
we were worried about the Knicks, not the Nets at that year. At that point, nobody was worried about that.
So I love the whole like, oh, I thought this one. Anybody that's in a Knick roster you thought would be better. Of course, it doesn't matter who.
True. But Mitchell, the story is not told on both players yet.
I agree, Mitchell but I would take my chance. I would rather have Allen. I would rather have Allen than I would take on Mitch. Jared Allen has shown the difference is every year you see Jared Allen get a little bit better, and then boom, he like exploded. You haven't seen that yet with Mitch. So you've seen the 3-point videos, but you haven't seen this
year has been really good. No, this year he's been really good.
I agree.
And he just doesn't score. That's the thing. He only can catch the dunk and that's it. And the putback, and he's hilarious to watch because whenever he gets the ball, even if he's 5 feet from the hoop, he's going up for a dunk. Like he presses a button like a video game, like dunk, dunk. Like no matter who's there, he's just trying to dunk it on everybody. It's like hilarious. But he has so much talent, and he is Marcus Camby Jr. To me, where he's so lean, and even we put on the added muscle, he's so lean and so athletic and so wild that he's bound to get hurt. But the talent is just like ridiculous. The athletic and the God-given talent is just ridiculous with Mitchell Robinson. And he's starting to put it together here, but he's also so raw because he didn't go to college. You know what I mean? And we don't know what his life was like before that. I don't, at least. And he's had weird, the Knicks coaches and whatever. So, but also the health is really the most important. I think I still think he will be better than Jared Allen, but at the same time, they might be the same. And that's really also, amazing defense. One of the best defensive centers in the Eastern Conference for the next 10 years, both of them. You don't know, so it is what it is. I was laughing about Jared Jeffries before to bring it back to the charging the lunch pail boys, the blue collar, whatever you guys call each other.
Yes. Defensive Nets.
So yeah, exactly. So Jared Jeffries is one of those quote unquote great signings by mid-level by Isaiah Thomas. And he was horrible. Then they brought him back, whatever. He was horrible. But when they brought him back, I think it was when they brought him back or before. I might be messing up the timeline. The Knicks fan defense of him or the reporters was, oh, he takes a lot of charges. He's really good at the charges. I'm like, give me a break with the charges. This guy stinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I earned it. I developed a respect for him, especially after that time when Melo sucker punched Marty Collins. and Jared Jeffries is running down the court. The people like actually holding him back, not like Rudy Gobert last night, like actually holding him back, pulling his jersey, like they're pulling it up. He's like, get off of me. I'm going to kill this, so I kind of, earned my respect for Jared Jeffries and made my peace in my mind with him. But that just brought back like these flashbacks of like, he takes a lot of charges. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, I think what's different, I think what's different about Blake Griffin and Jared Jeffries is like Blake Griffin wasn't a guy known to be the take the charge guy, play the defense guy. He was Blake Griffin, the all-star, the dunker, jumping over cars, and he's changed his game where now he knows where he's not the same player that he was, and he has to adapt and do other things to give his value on the court. And he said, okay, I'm going to be the guy that takes charges. I'm going to be the gritty guy on the Nets. That's what Blake Griffin is now. He's not the high-flying dunker. He can still finish around the rim pretty well if you give him space, but he's not the same player. And I think it's amazing now to see that he has adapted that and plays that way, which to me is what makes this even cooler. Is it's Blake Griffin that's the guy that's giving this grit. That's the blue collar boys. It's not. It's
like
not
Derrick Rose for us, for the Knicks.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
exactly.
Weird. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Derrick Rose is way more in his prime than Blake is at this point. I think Derrick Rose,
incredible.
But you get my point. You get my
but I know what you're saying.
Exactly.
Like the big star that's now had to reduce their role and they're still good.
Right.
The Derrick Rose trade, you brought it up before with the Pistons, maybe the best trade in Knicks history, like most one-sided trade in Knicks history. And I'm not even being like dramatic here. They traded Dennis Smith Jr., who I don't even know where he is now, and a second-round pick for Derrick Rose, who is now, where would they be without Derrick Rose? Last year I was saying it too, and this year I was against the trade because I thought it was going to cut into Quickly's minutes. Somehow it didn't. I mean, they should have gotten rid of Alfred Payton. We're not going to go back to last year's debates, but I'm just like, I can't believe how good this guy is. And he's just changed his game, his mentality from the last time he was here. He knows his role and he knows what he can do. He gets to his spots. He's not the MVP Derrick Rose who's doing like backward, like reverse dunks in the paint. He's not doing that, but he's hitting the three. His three is always like, if you see his threes, it's kind of, he leans in. It's really like a weird shot.
But a lot better though.
Yeah. He's like parallel to the ground shooting threes. It's hilarious, but it goes in and you know what? The Knicks, that's how you become a really good team, when you crush these kinds of trades. You know what I mean? When you win trades is how they won the Porzingis trade, they won the Derrick Rose trade, and that's why they are where they are today. And it's just as simple as that.
Boy, I hope they lose.
I hope
it is fun though that we're like 12 games into the season. And we do have a little bit of evidence to work with and see where things go moving forward. I will say that one last Nets point, James Harden has been an interesting player this year. He has rounded out and gotten a little bit better into form. He does lead the league in triple doubles.
You said hurt him, right? The foul.
Yeah, there has been. I think this is what's going to happen.
The fouls, the new
he's
call.
He's the poster child for this thing, right? He is. There are calls.
Yeah.
There are calls that definitely. There are some times where he's fouled and they're not calling it, and you're just like, if you look at the play, you're like, this is a foul. This is ridiculous.
Even I would be like, that's
this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen over time is they're making their points early, but I think it's going to chill out and relax a little bit. I can't imagine that this kind of pace keeps up the whole time. They're making a point early, and there's going to be a point of emphasis too. Like you can't, because it's the boy who cried wolf for James Harden. For so many years, he was getting these fake fouls called on him. So now when he does the thing in the air, when it's a legit foul, he's not with the new attention on him. He can't get the call because it's like, oh, there's James Harden again. But then if you watch the play, it's like there's one play where there was somebody intentionally trying to foul him. I can't remember. It was in the Bulls game where they were I can't remember who they were like intentionally trying to foul him, and they didn't call the foul. And it was like, oh my God. But it's a product of his own mess from before. Yeah. And he's hopefully he adapts, because he's not the same player right now. He's good, but he's not James Harden, who could go out and give you 37 and 16 in a second. He's James Harden, and it feels a bit more of a struggle. And it's just big bad Kevin Durant there to give everybody a hug at the end.
Well, Harden he's so good that he'll adapt this game. We always talk about this on this podcast, where where people complain about fit with Kyrie, Harden, and Durant. I'm like, fit? Like, what do you care about fit? These guys are so good. They'll figure it out. They're basketball geniuses. They'll figure it out. Harden is now getting into it. He understands, okay, this is a foul. This isn't a foul. These guys like bucket these plays in their heads. This is what they do for a living. And this is their life, is playing basketball. They'll remember, okay, if I go this way, he'll call it. If I go that way, he won't. So he'll figure it out. And he'll be fine. I really believe that. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to say that. So it is what it is. I wouldn't worry too much about James Harden, but Kyrie is not coming back now because Eric Adams upheld the new mayor of New York City, said, no, actually, I just want to get the Nets votes and get into office.
Yeah, right.
And then he's like, yeah, well, actually, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to lift the mandate so fast. So
it is.
We'll see what happens.
I couldn't sleep last night, and I was watching just net highlights of Kyrie because I wanted to remind myself of Kyrie Irving.
He is.
Like, wow,
yeah.
That was probably a bad idea for myself. I went to sleep early and then woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't fall back asleep. And that's what I started to do. I then went down a rabbit hole of watching Nets Bucks Game 7. That was dumb, but I just wanted to see some things for a reminder. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. Yeah, it was not healthy. I do wonder, like, if there would be a market for Kyrie with trades, what it would even be. Because if he does have a high salary, and where he would go, like if a team, if you're at the point where the Nets are like they're 40 and 22 or whatever they would be at the deadline, 31 and 16, let's make up a number like that,
right?
And there's a market to get something in return, and it's not going to be equivalent. It's just impossible. But you could get something. I think you have to do it. I don't even think it's a question.
Imagine like the Pelicans are 1-11. They're like, here's Zion for Kyrie.
No, that's not happening.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, everybody.
But realistically, it would be like
realistically, I don't know. It's got to be something.
Here's a realistic one. Seriously, like, if you could put these two together from two different teams, right? Like Steven Adams and Terrence Ross kind of package. Like Nets get a little size and a guy that can score off the bench, like that can give them some buckets off the bench. I know they're from different teams, but like
no,
that
guys
kind
like
of level of package.
Yeah.
It would
have to be in the West. It would have to. The Nets are not trading Kyrie in the East so he can beat them in the playoffs.
I can't. No, unless it's to like the Magic. Or someone like that, no shot.
But like the Kings, there's never mind. California has the same mandate, right? So
no, you can't do it.
So,
no, I know.
I don't know if Sacramento does. I think it's a city thing. I don't know if it's what.
Either way, no, they have the mandate. I believe they do.
So then I don't know. Is it OKC? Is it, you know what I mean? But then is Kyrie going to show up to like OKC? It's just there's so many layers to this. The Nets are just screwed. They just got to wait and just see what happens.
I'll end it with this. When people are like, if you trade him to Philly, you get Ben Simmons. I'm saying, listen, I have my thoughts on Ben Simmons. Do you think I want to see Kyrie Irving and Joel Embiid in the playoffs?
Philly? Yeah.
Oh my God, they'd win. That tandem would be ridiculous.
Nets. Yeah, and Tobias Harris and
like think about it for a second. If you
look at
Maxey, he can come back and kick your ass.
Yeah. No, he will. He will. Maybe you can get Maxey too, but Maxey is crushing it for the Sixers right now.
Yeah, I know. You're playing fantasy.
This kid is crushing it. Yeah, no, I picked him up on. I was like, hey, I'll add him for a day, and he is crushing it. They're like, oh, Ben Simmons, sit out. Yeah, it's cool. Your mental health, yeah, go ahead. Relax. Maxey might be their point guard of the future. he's putting up 30 and 30 almost every night.
It's fast,
and it's crazy.
Yeah, taking advantage of the situation. Good for him.
He's got his opportunity. Just like Obi Toppin is going to get his opportunity eventually. These things work itself out. Stop worrying so much about minutes. It'll work itself out. I don't know if it'll be for Julius Randle, but for something will happen. I'll say God forbid, but it always works itself out.
I don't know, man. Will it with him? Tibbs doesn't like them on the court together because their defense is horrendous, and he only plays them. Obi only plays 10 to 15 minutes.
I know. He does really well. And that Cavs game when I was there on Sunday, he came in and the crowd. I'll say we as fans love Obi Toppin because he is us. You know what I'm saying? He is one of us. You look at Obi Toppin, you're like, that's a New Yorker. Even if we didn't know who he was, you're like, oh, he's from New York. You can just tell. And just the athleticism and going through hard times in college, and then having the 2 years in college after having the hard times early in his college career, and then this year, and then with the Knicks last year, he had the hard times and it worked his way. He's just like a hard worker. Blue collar boy thing, like you guys, you know what I'm saying? He's like that guy who comes in.
Our team.
Yeah,
be a nice fit.
That would really be good. But anyway, so at the game on Sunday, it was my birthday, the Cavs game. we're at it. I met these two guys, Perry and Andrew. They were Raiders fans, and they're from Toronto, and they went to the Giants game through the day, and then they went to the Knicks game. So they did the doubleheader, and they were asking us for dinner reservation. They were super nice people. But either way, I'll get back to the Giants in a second. But Hannah, my fiance, my beautiful fiance, bought me the tickets for my birthday. And she's just so funny when she's at games because she was just so excited and into it. And she knows basketball, but she doesn't know it as well. But she knows like certain phrases. So somebody makes a shot, she'll randomly just go, "Oh, ball don't lie, right? Ball don't lie." I'm like, "No, that's not what it means." You know what I mean? And she's like, "Oh, bing bong." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Like,
ball don't lie.
Like, she'll just like random somebody hit a three. "Oh, ball don't lie." I'm like, "No, that's not." And I try to explain, but then she just doesn't care. And she'll just say it like all
have
the
fun.
time. It's hilarious.
Enjoy yourself.
She's great.
Have fun.
Yeah, no, that was great. So so the Raiders and the Giants on Sunday, you were watching that more than I was. I mean, there was a pick six and the Giants ended up winning. Like, how did that game go for you guys?
It was the most complete game from the Giants that we saw from them. It was fun to see a Giants interception turn into a touchdown. I mean, I don't know if there's a stat of this, but the Giants have so many dropped interceptions that have turned into losses. I mean, the crushing one versus Washington on Thursday night that was right in the hands, I believe, of Logan Ryan, who dropped it in the end zone. I mean, they've had so many of those. So it was good to see the Giants put a full game together, and they moved to 3-6. They have the week off. They got Tampa up next. After that, the schedule is not too difficult. And because the NFC is so atrocious, I'm not saying the Giants are making the playoffs. I don't think they will, but at least as a fan, you have some excitement knowing that there's still a possibility. I mean, I believe the 7 seed right now is the Falcons, who are 5-5 on the year. And if you were a Giants fan, you saw that as another one of those games that they completely and utterly blew.
Right.
So you just get a little excitement. You get through that Tampa Bay game, your mind wanders, and the schedule gets a lot easier because a lot of NFC East teams are left for them. 2 with Philly, 1 with Washington, and still 1 with Dallas as well. So there's still, you get the idea that you can dream and you can see what can happen, and you hope you get a little bit of health going on the offensive side of the ball, and that makes a difference. And you just kind of dream of what's to come. I know there were a lot of Raiders games at that Giant Stadium. They travel well, and the Giants have been dog shit. Yeah. So I'm sure that opened up. But
Raiders fans are everywhere. I'm talking to these guys, Perry and Andrew, at the game, and they're Raiders fans from. I was like, "Oh, so where are you from? Vegas?" He's like, "No." He started pointing up. The guy's like, I'm like, "Toronto?" I'm like, "Canada, Montreal?" He's like, "Toronto." Yeah. I was like, okay. Like, so you're just a diehard Raiders fan that flew to New York for, it's just one of those situations that's the Raiders are just one of those national teams. They're one of those national brands where there's fans everywhere. So you're always going to get that. Remember back in the day at Jet games when the Raiders would come in and the Jets were terrible, they'd be like, "Let's go Raiders" chants. And they'd be, this is that Giant Stadium when there were actual Jet fans there, so they were like, "Let's go Raiders" chants over and over. So it's one of those teams you just can't avoid it, especially when the Giants are not a real contending team, No,
not even close to a real contending team, and have been awful. I mean, fans are frustrated and angry. Going into that game, they had the terrible. I guess that was the Kansas City loss. It's all kind of blended together. I mean, that was just. Yeah. I mean, that's tough. The frustrating part of it. But that's sports. But it's true. It's like you just think of all these moments. Should have won the Kansas City game. Should have won the Washington game. Shoulda. But I mean, it's shoulda, coulda, woulda. At some point, you got to win these games or shut up. And it's the same shit every year from them. You are what your record says. So you're a 47-win Knicks team.
Exactly. That's what we are.
I was so excited to watch Mike White, and then he didn't play.
I was so mad. We did our podcast right before. We did it early so we can do it before the Jets game. We watched Mike White. He comes out. He had that play where it should have been a pick, and then he hurts himself. And then we were watching Josh Jackson. Oh my God, what a buzzkill!
I missed that sequence because we were done with it. I was editing the podcast, and then I had time. I was like, okay.
You texted me like, "What happened to Mike White?"
I go on my Twitter feed and everybody's bitching. I was like, "Let me just text you," and then I realized what happened. I saw him play 0 snaps that night.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. I mean, he had that one play, like I said, where a pick went through the guy's hands. So he had a little luck on his side, but he looked okay. And did I say Jackson? It's Josh Johnson. Jackson. Yeah. I don't know what I said. Not Dawson's Creek. Joshua Jackson.
You like Dawson's Creek?
But anyway. No, I was not a Dawson's Creek guy. What I like the show that he was in was The Affair. I really like that show.
I haven't seen it.
You should see it. It's a Showtime show. It takes place out in Montauk, and I love Montauk. Whatever. Another conversation for another time.
Where's Montauk?
The tip of Long Island. The southern tip of Long Island.
I'm just being
I'm like, actually, I know you're a Jersey guy because for me, you talk to me about Jersey. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
I know where Montauk is. Stop it. I'm just being a jerk. I finished Lost, by the way.
Yeah.
Terrible ending.
Yeah, I haven't
What a
seen. I've never
disaster
seen that
that
show.
was.
That's one of those shows on my list. Lost for sure.
What an awful ending. But back to the
Anyway,
awful ending
back to the Jets. Mike Effin White, so they just got embarrassed. The Colts were just running all over them. It's a defense that's been horrible. It's like the offense and the defense flipped. The offense was terrible the first 4 or 5 games, and the defense was like holding their own. And now they're flipped. I know Marcus May is out now for the season and whatever, but they were terrible when he was still playing. And it's just they're just not a good team overall. And it just becomes one of those situations where they're not a very good team, and maybe Mike White is the guy. And if he is, and Zach Wilson is really good, and maybe he's the guy too, and maybe we have some kind of real thing here. I don't care how they get their franchise quarterback, just get it. But this is why I always said I hate tanking in football. Tanking in football is the dumbest thing possible. If you see a quarterback that you want, go trade up and get him. Everybody was like, Trevor Lawrence is going to change the Jaguars. The Jaguars still suck. They have no team. I know it's his first year, but they have no team around him. So they're going to beat him to death. And then then he might turn into Sam Darnold. You know what I mean? Like, you can ruin a young quarterback. So if the reason why the Rams went to the Super Bowl is because they got Jared Goff when they were already building their team. The Eagles with Wentz. I know Nick Foles, but Nick Foles got to the Super Bowl because Carson Wentz was like 14-2 as a starter, and they had the home field advantage and the bye. So Nick Foles doesn't lead the Eagles to the Super Bowl if that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying? So it's just build your team, get better. And if Mike White is the guy, then he's the guy. Start trying to win, Jets, and maybe this team could turn it around.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, people are concerned if Mike White's the guy.
They get it.
What are the Jets going to feel about Jets? I mean, ultimately it's about winning Super Bowl. So who really cares how you get there? And it's I wouldn't say it's a mistake that if Mike White's good, it doesn't mean it was a mistake that they drafted. It wasn't their mistake in the time. If they got lucky and fell into something, say, shit, we've had so much bad luck. You think I'm not going to, if our franchise,
we were owed this one.
we signed this guy. We thought he was okay, but we didn't know he was going to be this good. Like, they don't care. Do what they can do to get those feelings and move on. And I agree with you about the tanking part in football, especially at the quarterback position. I mean, the tanking for Tua phrase. Now, meanwhile, Justin Herbert at this point in his career feels like is the Chargers have themselves another franchise quarterback. In Miami, there's a lot of question marks all over the place. You just don't know.
And Dak was a 4th round pick. Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Like, you don't know. Like, just pick a guy. Lamar Jackson was a 32nd pick. He was the MVP of the league. You know what I mean? The Jets passed on Mahomes and Watson. You know what I mean? Because they're tanking and they had a plan to tank for 2-3 years for these guys. It's just like, start winning, start building your team. Stop worrying about a quarterback in the future. The teams that win are the ones, the franchises that win are the ones that in rounds 3 through 5, 2 through 4, they crush it. And they find these guys that become the players for the next 3 to 6 years. And while they don't have huge salaries, it comes all together. That's the guys. Like, I look at those Giants teams that won the Super Bowl. They won because they drafted Osi Umenyiora. They drafted Justin Tuck. They found those defensive gems. They drafted an O-line. They figured out that stuff. And then you get the quarterback. That's how you do it. It's the teams that crush Seahawks
it in those late picks.
Seahawks too.
That's how you win.
The previous Seahawks Super Bowl team, when they should have won 2 in a row, they got Marshawn Lynch as a free agent. And Russell Wilson was a 4th round pick. They signed Flynn, who they thought was going to be the man. Russell Wilson comes in and crushes it. Pete Carroll's like, no, this guy is playing. He's like, and then they got Richard Sherman, also 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick. I don't remember what he was. Also one of the best corners in the NFL. And look at you, you're in the Super Bowl. It's just
why are the Steelers good? Why are the Steelers good every year? They're unbelievable offensive line. They draft wide receivers. They've drafted great linebackers.
Antonio Brown, 6th round pick. Exactly. There you go.
And then they just figure and they keep moving along. There's also something to be said, like, when it's time to go, it's time to go. And franchises that know how to do that are the best. Bill Belichick's the cold-blooded one at this. I think he strikes the most. He has made mistakes. I think Tom Brady's a clear example. Although it does appear New England might have their quarterback, it's when it's over, you just got to move on, especially in football too, where things drop fast, or like in the NBA where the Celtics knew Kemba was done.
We'll see. We'll see about.
I know. It's very early. Kemba does scare me a little bit because he does have bursts where he can go up.
This Jets game is an interesting number. Jets Bills at the Meadowlands at 13.5 points going to the Jets. That's crazy. I know the Bills are really, 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 really good.
The Jets
defense has been terrible, but you know what? Like that's a tough one to bet against the Jets on that one. You know, that might be a money line game too. If the Jets, it's a division game. I'm not saying the Jets are going to win. I'm not confident and the Jets are going to win any game this season. But that's a wild number, 13.5. Mike White is not, Tom Brady, but let's
tough loss for the Bills, common rebound game. I don't know.
Jets too. Well, they had the extra days off because they played Thursday. Their defense sucks though. That's probably what it is. Anyway, yes. I'm not worried about the Jets. All right. Well,
trivia time, baby.
Podcast. Trivia time. Jersey number trivia. We were on episode 90. You said, right? I think we might be wrong about that. I don't know.
90.
So we used to do every episode. We'd pick a number. It was episode number 32. I'd pick a 32 for Mike on the Nets. Mike, who's number 32 on the Nets?
Buck Williams.
Dr. J. Wasn't it Dr. J 32?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would guess that and I'll give him hints and you'd guess it. But now it's sponsored by our boy Dolan J. Trump, Dolan_J_Trump. He's an account on Twitter. Very funny. He is a James Dolan and Donald Trump mixture. And he sponsors this account. He gives us random numbers that we guess. So would you like to go first, Mike, or would I like?
I'll read to you first this time. I'm remembering now. I'm reading to you.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
I feel like this is last week's. No? You know what the problem is? He texts me and then he just texts me so many other things. It's really annoying.
T-shirts, buy his T-shirts. There's some good T-shirts.
Oh my God. All right. He wore number 3 during the 2010-2011 season. His only season employed by James Dolan.
Sean Williams.
Correct.
Number 3 is easy for me because it was John Starks' number. I thought it should have been retired.
Why isn't that retired?
And because he missed the shot. He was fouled at the end of Game 6 in the '94 Finals, and they didn't call it. And then Game 7, it should have been retired because he's just one of those guys. Not even just for his production, just for what he meant to the organization.
You know who he is?
Yeah,
he is Bernie Williams.
Right. Bernie Williams or Paul O'Neill or somebody like that. Who's that?
Not a Hall, obviously, but for the organization and their essence.
Yeah. It's weird seeing 3. And I remember every 3 after him because I was mad. You had
I get it.
Dennis Scott. You had washed up Dennis Scott. You had Sean Williams. You had Stephon Marbury. And it's just like, oh, come on, man.
Weird.
Respect the number, respect number 3. And they're saving Melo's number. They're probably going to retire it. I know Melo was great for the Knicks, but the back end wasn't so great. But you're going to retire Melo and not Starks. I mean, I don't want to start a crazy debate here, but,
right. Because Melo obviously is the more talented player, more all NBA player, Hall of Fame,
Hall of Famer
player.
Yeah.
But John Starks, he was part of those Knicks teams.
He meant more to the Knicks.
Why Knicks fans think they're greater than everybody else. So he's got to be there.
Yeah, he's part of that. So you want to read the rest of the clues? Just
I'll run through it for you.
Dolan J. Trump put so much thought into it.
His career lasted 7 seasons after being drafted 17th overall in the 2006 draft by the Pacers. With the Knicks, he appeared in 64 games, made 11 starts at power forward. His best statistical season came with the Knicks, in which he averaged 7 points and shot over 40% from 3. He played for 7 different teams, including the aforementioned Pacers, Miami, Dallas, Detroit, the Lakers, and New Jersey. He attended the same college as the most talented point guard currently playing in New York, Derrick Rose.
And he also got into a fight with another Williams on the Hawks, Marvin Williams, back in the day when he was on the Knicks. And they got into a fight, and it was just the funniest. I think they stripped it from YouTube because you can't find it anywhere. But this was the rivalry was brewing back then with Knicks and Hawks because of that fight. But then the Knicks gutted the whole team in the middle of the season for Melo, so it was kind of died. But it was just funny because Clyde was like, and Williams are just and me and my friend were watching it. And we just started dying. We kept rewinding it just to hear him say it because Clyde's an old school guy, like a boxing guy. And Williams are they're duking it out. And he just I don't remember what he said, but it was just
real fast. We didn't talk about it. We'll only do like a minute here, but the Nikola Jokic Morris incident.
Oh yeah, dude,
crazy,
that was great. But Richard Jefferson, our
nuts.
boy. Yeah, our boy Richard Jefferson was on the podcast, episode 3 or something. He he put out a funny video, and I had to agree with it. He's like, "Yes, this was wrong. Jokic's thing was wrong, but if you don't do this, then you don't do this. Then this doesn't happen." So it's like
Morris
Jokic's
wasn't a choir boy there. He gave him a nice shove.
Oh
And then
yeah,
Jokic
and
was
it was a
control.
cheap shot. He was just taking a half court shot. It was a cheap shot.
Yeah,
and he
then
deserved.
Jokic
I mean, it was a little excessive. It was a little excessive, but he deserved to.
Yeah, it was definitely excessive, but it shouldn't be surprising if somebody's going to come and knock you in the back. He loose circuit. He's going after him. I mean, that's how this stuff happens.
And it was spur of the moment. That's why I respect it from Jokic. He turned around. He's like, "What the?" And he hit him.
I can't wait
for
their
poor Tyler Hero was there, and he was just like, he was like, I don't even blame him because Jokic is like 3 times the size of him. He would have gotten crushed. Like, what do you, and then he's suspended and he gets his ass kicked too. So it's kind of like poor Hero in that situation. And everybody's like, he's not tough, but
Nuggets at Heat, November 29th. That'll be fun. Monday.
Looking forward to that.
And that game is on NBA TV for those interested.
Yeah.
All right, let me hear mine.
Do it. Oh yeah, I forgot.
Okay. I forgot.
Okay. I'll say I think you're going to get this one.
I've been on a losing streak. I did get Johan Petro, but just Dolan's going after me, and it's a mental hurdle.
Yeah,
now.
He is. Yeah, and his clues are very confusing to figure out. So
yeah, he texted me the other day, like, you didn't know where Versace was murdered.
Yeah, last week's episode, he said the player was born in the city where Versace was murdered. We're like, can we not do murdering clues?
Yeah, he's trying too much. Let's just stick to the basics.
Right.
Like defense.
We're just that good. That's why he has to do that. We can guess all these pretty easily. Just kidding. So he wore number 10. So number 10 in the 13-14 season in
Anthony
Brooklyn.
Morrow.
No,
he was 22, I think. Okay, so it's the red jerseys. No. We're in Brooklyn now. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, he was drafted. Excuse me. He was drafted in the second round by Miami in 2009, but made the all-rookie team for the New Orleans Hornets.
Keith Bogans.
No. Keep going. Think a little. Okay. He played for 7 different teams during his 8-year career, despite being a capable scorer who once averaged 21 and 19 points in consecutive seasons.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to get this eventually. Or you're going to be mad that you didn't.
You're probably mad. That's the trend I'm going with. All right, keep going.
With the Nets, he only appeared in 26 games and being acquired mid-season and averaged just over 12 points in a reserve guard role.
Oh, it's what's his name? I can see his face.
I knew you'd get it. You know him, but you can't think of his name.
Keep going.
Right now.
I can see his face.
Aside from the Nets, he played for the Hornets, Rockets, Kings, Suns, Celtics, and the Wizards.
Oh my God, I can see his face. I can see it. What's the school?
Yeah, because you're the college draft guy. You always are. So
I know who it is. I know who it is. I can see his face.
He attended the same college as Hall of Fame guard Cam Thomas. It's a little shot at you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. He's I can see his face. That's it.
That's it.
I know who it is. What's the name? I'm not gonna bore everybody with me thinking.
Give it 5 seconds.
5. Oh my God. Yeah, he was little and he could score, but he couldn't. Yeah, go for it. I know who it is. Yeah,
Marcus Thornton.
Yeah, that's who it is. I knew who it was.
You knew that.
I knew who it was. I knew it. He had a nice year for the Nets. He could score.
Mm-hmm.
I knew. I was gonna say, it's funny. My brain kept saying Morris. I knew there was an M there, but I couldn't quite put together.
Yeah.
I should have had.
Well, you had Markieff Morris in your head because of we just talked about Morris and Jokic. So
I'm struggling. I'm struggling. Knick fans picking on me now for all my bad trivia.
Yeah. No poll question for now. We put a pause on that. We'll bring that back in a little bit. But for now, just the jersey number trivia. But yeah, Knicks fans are picking on you, and Nets fans are picking on me too. Giving me the update thing back. So
yeah, people have gone to me. Are you going to do the update thing? I said no. Not my thing.
That's our thing, man. Update. Yeah,
I'm not updating. There'll be a time and place for the moment. Trust me.
Right, you're waiting for the ping pong thing. That's what.
That's not happening. Knicks are too good. They're not dropping out of the 10th.
We could like cut that. If we cut that like as a drop, the Knicks are too good.
If you can figure it out and want to do the post production, it's all on you, man. If you want to do it,
I just need the programs. If you want to send me the programs,
go for it. Hey, if you want to do it,
audio.
If you
I'm an audio guy at heart.
If you want to alter my voice, I'll let you. Fine by me. But no, I'm not an update guy. That's you. That's your thing. I'm not going to take that. Although I did like doing this, Todd. Instead of doing update, I did do this yesterday when there was someone exposed one of your tweets from 2019 about
BKGO,
and I just wrote in the conversation like it was live. I did do that. I thought that was funny.
At BKGO718, that's our boy. He's the one who found it, and then everybody ran with it. Like our boy Matt Brooks also ran with it, and it just blew up. And that's fine. Come at me, and I'll come at you. It's just all fun. I don't care. I don't care.
It was annoying though when you're update people when they have something that's not accurate anymore, and then you're defending the point with other points though. When you were doing it, like you're like, oh yeah, well, how many titles have they won? I was like, well, no, that's a different conversation. Yes, that so far they have not won, but he has outperformed what people thought. Yes, there's two. I mean, exactly. Yes, I mean, and then you're like, he's played in 50 games in 3 years. No, he's played in 50 games. The first one you knew he wasn't going to play in. They've been 12 games this season. That's part
of why I didn't want
misinformation.
Because
fine, but it's still misinformation.
We don't get in this stupid conversation.
Or just write 2+ seasons.
Yeah, and also the tweet that everybody ran with was the one that I quote. I linked the Yahoo article that said Durant's Achilles may never be the same, and Yahoo deleted the article. So just people, I think I made it up. There's an actual link.
I don't think it's deleted.
It's all good though. It's all good.
We don't have to get into the semantics of the link to Yahoo.
Oh, it might have been switched, like a link switch. Like if you Google it, it might be there. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. This has been Bad Weather Fans, episode number 90 with Mike and Alex. If you're listening on Apple and Spotify, go ahead, subscribe, give a 5-star. If you're watching this via the video, thumbs up. Tell your friends. And if you are watching this, tweet at us at Knicks Central, at Mike Delivers Pod. Send us a picture of you watching the YouTube video. We will retweet it. We want to see how you're watching it. Tell us if you're at work, if you are at home, if you are on an airplane, if you are on a train, or maybe you're on your way to the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. God, that place gives me the Mecca. I'll be there this year. Yeah. I'll be there next Knicks in February.
We're gonna hit up a game one. Yeah,
I don't know if I can do that with you. No,
we'll do something. We'll do something. Might not do a live show, but we'll do something at a bar. We're not gonna. We don't have to sit together. We don't have to sit together.
Yes,
you don't want to sit with me at a game.
You don't want to sit with me.
I lost my voice at Monday. People are like, "Where are you sick at work?" When I was talking like my real job, but people are like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just was at a basketball game yesterday, and I'm 12 years old." So
no, it's fair. I saw somebody on Twitter was like, "I watched this one game and I couldn't sit." I'm like, "You sit watching sports? I haven't sat watching a Nets game in 8 years." Pacing Jones over here for me, man. Left, right.
Especially at the end of the game. Anyway, we can ramble on for another hour.
House.
Yeah, exactly.
Bad Weather Fans. Episode number 90. Alex, see you next time. Be good, my friend.
Peace.